we'll also have pickleball lines painted on that. So
Do we have any parks right now that have pickleball lines?
Only done a few times.
no, we do not.
Thank
So,
you.
yep.
Bummer.
But theoretically, if I wanted to check out a net, I could take it to 5 Acre Park in Lakewood where they do have pickleball, right?
Yep,
Or
you can do that.
does,
Are you in?
Or Echo.
Does
Echo
Judy
just
have a
tried
net?
something for pickleball.
Judy, do you have a net? Pickleball net?
Did you?
I believe they have a net at Echo, but you have to be a member, obviously. Kind of like Lakewood.
I've got a connection.
Kind of like Lakewood.
Lakewood has a net to check out, and on the court, there's pickleball court
And that's a
drawings on
5
the
acre,
basketball
right,
court.
Judy?
Pardon?
Is that a 5 acre?
Was that a 5 acre park? Where the
You're breaking up on my computer.
Okay.
5 Acre Park at the basketball court. There's also a pickleball court drawn in, and we have a pickleball net to check out.
There you go.
Perfect.
We need to look him for the back door, I think, if he's done.
Were you locked out? That's
We
fun.
should probably get a key card access system and give them one.
Yes. That's a great idea. Why don't you work on that? Okay. Stephanie, Brian are here. Everybody's here. So shall we get going? We'll go ahead and call the city council business meeting for Thursday, March 4th, 2021 to order. It is 6:01 p.m. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Reba,
Here.
Cool,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well, so it's good to have everybody here. So this meeting of the Norwalk City Council on March 4th, 2021 is being held both in person and electronically. Governor Reynolds issued a state of public health disaster effective January 7th, 2021 that lifted the prohibition on indoor gatherings of more than 10 people as long as physical distancing is still possible. I issued proclamation of emergency effective January 15th, 2021, that reopened our public buildings, but to provide proper physical distancing, only those presenting to council are allowed to attend in person. Everyone else is welcome to attend the meeting electronically. As with all electronic meetings, there may be some technical glitches. We may talk over each other. There could be a whole bunch of other issues that occurred during our meeting tonight. I just ask that we all be patient and respectful with each other as we conduct this meeting. For those of you on the Zoom meeting, you'll notice that your microphones are muted. If you want to speak to an agenda item, go ahead and unmute your mic and speak up during public comment. You can also let us know you have some input by raising your Zoom hand or by flagging us in the chat box. We'll then recognize you during the public comment. Please mute your microphone after you've made your comments. Just know that if you don't, one of us will go ahead and get your mic muted, and that's not a problem for us to do. You'll also notice that you needed to be allowed into the Zoom meeting tonight. If you are disruptive, we'll give you a warning and ask you to stop. If you're still disruptive after that, we'll remove you from this meeting and you will not be allowed back in. This is what would happen with a full in-person meeting, so it's not really a change to any of our procedures. We're streaming this meeting through YouTube. We believe YouTube provides the ability for a much broader audience to view our meetings. You'll find the ability to comment to the YouTube meeting has been turned off. This is done so we don't have a meeting going on within the meeting. We are recording this meeting, so please act accordingly. Finally, I'm only human and I may miss recognizing someone. If that happens, please interrupt me via the chat box or unmute your microphone and say, hey, and I'm not going to be offended at all if you do that. With that said, item number 2 on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all. All right. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda tonight? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Livingston, second by Cool. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same. And that motion carries. Item 4 is welcome guests and public comment. Thank you all for joining us on the Zoom meeting tonight. We'll go ahead and open up the virtual dais for public comment. We'll give you a 3-minute time limit. This will be for non-agenda items, and realize that we can't take action on any of these tonight since they aren't on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. Have any takers? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on. Item 5 is presentations. Tonight we have Jean Bosch with us here to talk about the Norwalk Library's 5-year strategic plan. Jean, take her away.
Thank you. I'm going to switch over to my presentation. There we go. Well, thank you for allowing me to present this evening. It's 12 days shy of my coming on as the library director here. And on my first day, I closed the library. Thank you for letting me do that for everyone's safety. Again, my name is Jean Bosch, and I am the library director, and here presenting our somewhat brand new strategic plan. Here is a picture of our lovely library, and the strategic plan did precede me. I inherited it when I got here. The plan was approved by our library board back in December of 2019. Our plan is not only created to meet our accreditation standards with the State Library of Iowa, but it's also to provide us with a written guide to plan the library's future. In addition, all libraries are changing, and they're reinventing their services, programs, and collections, as we are no longer useful to serve as a quiet warehouse for storing books. Instead, libraries are vibrant places for people to gather, to learn, to view, to access internet and technology, to meet with others, to find silence, to invent, to play, and even to read, and much, much more. This plan that we are presenting captures our next steps in growing and adapting to meet the needs of our community and to improve the lives of our users. The plan is rather lengthy. I think everyone got it before the meeting, and it was a group effort that was created with staff involvement, Library Foundation director involvement, library trustee participation, and our very own Luke Nelson. And it was all done under the guidance of Mary Ann Morey, who is our consultant from the State Library of Iowa. And I may have some of my library trustees on the Zoom call listening as well. My trustees are Joe Munch, Sarah Smith, Stephanie Farmer, Nikki Huter, Kelly Stewart, Elizabeth Thompson, and our current president, Steve Clark. So a little shout out to them if they are out there listening as well. They're very supportive, and I'm glad to have them on my board. As I said before, I started in March of 2020, and the staff and board and I started working together to achieve our goals. This is kind of our mission and goals and values statement, just all in one piece, because as I mentioned before, it is a very lengthy document, and we wanted to try to cull it down to be able to make it more usable. We wanted to have a plan that would have solid, tangible, recognizable outcomes, and we didn't want to create a document that would just sit in a drawer or on a shelf in a binder. So this graphic sums up our overall plan with the mission, goals, and values stated. We have this posted in the library's workroom. It has been shared with all the staff. It's a part of the trustee and the new staff training documents, and it is our guide. When we are planning programs or deciding to add new collections or forming a community partnership, we use these things to ensure our work is fitting into these goals and mission and our values. So our mission is to provide exceptional service, foster community connections, value innovation, and encourage discovery. And those are also related to our core values on the right-hand side. And then we'll be going over our goals for the rest of my time. Before I delve into our goal areas, I did want to talk about how we got to some of the strategic goals that we have. And so I wanted to show you some of the comparisons, because that kind of lays out the future of the library, and that mirrors the future of our community. There's a lot of growth here. You all know that. So the way the State Library looks at things is they look at libraries by community size. And so at the time that this plan was created, we were still a size E library. As soon as our census, the 2020 census numbers come out, we will move into being an F library. We will be a larger community and a library trying to serve a larger community. So that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, even though F is usually a bad thing. It's not this time. So currently our square footage of the library facility is at 11,500 square feet, and it's below the average of even E-size libraries. And that's where we're aging out of or sizing out of. And it's well below the average of 19,534 square feet for F-size libraries. So that kind of lays the groundwork that we are a very small facility serving a quickly growing community. So that kind of drives a lot of our strategic goals. In addition to that, we have a collection that is below the average for an E-size library and obviously well below an F-size library. So we do need to have a larger collection. The problem is, if your building is too small, you have no place to put your books and movies and things, because then there's no place to sit, no place to meet, no place to do programs. So that kind of is where we're at, and that's why this comparison is the first one here. There's also staffing comparisons that we can make. We do have a team of 4 full-time staff, including myself, and the E-size libraries average 5 full-time staff, and the F-size libraries average 7 staff. So we are definitely understaffed for that. However, for part-time, we do have 9 part-timers, and that is above the average of 6 and spot on for the F-size libraries. When I came here, I knew we have a lot of part-time staff that are doing a lot of things. And so that's highly unusual in library land to have so many part-timers do anything. So that will be an interesting development to see how that plays out in our future. And our finances are here. Total income per capita is $62.35, below the average, but is above the average for the F-size libraries. So I thought that was really interesting. I'm still trying to puzzle that one out. And the expenditures per capita are listed in front of you as well. 502,000 is where we're at on an average, which is above average for E, but below for the F-size libraries. Usage comparisons. The circulation is a fancy word for checkouts. So any of the materials that get checked out of the library is called our circulation. We are above average, way above average, and I'm proud of that, and the whole community is proud of that. We move a lot of materials off of our shelves. Way to go, Norwalk. But we are below the average for an F-size library, but part of that could be because we don't have the room to store as many items in our facility. And I've been here just slightly less than a year, and I've had that disheartening experience of working with a patron and we don't have something on the shelf and they're like, we'll just go to West Des Moines and get it, or we'll go to Urbandale, or we'll go somewhere else. I'm like, no, you're my patron, stay here. So we really struggle with that because we feel like we have a need to serve our residents here. We don't want them to go somewhere else. We want them to be here. Also our annual visits. So this is the door count. The number of people who come in the door is about 72,000, which is nicely above an average E-size library at almost 67,000, but below the F-size library of 108,000. Again, this is probably due to the fact that we have a smaller facility, so we can't get as many people in for programs and story times and things like that. We just don't have the physical space. And that kind of relates into my next comparison of programming. Programming is kind of a big library word for the story times, the book clubs, all of the things that people come to attend, all the events and things. So we should, again, be very proud of these numbers. I think we have an excellent programming staff. Kayla Becker is our adult services librarian, and the council graciously helped us to get her to a point to where she's full-time instead of part-time. So thank you for that. Some of these numbers reflect the successes she has had. And our youth services librarian, Mallory Inman, is also very good. And these numbers tell you a lot here. The number of programs held in an average year, not a COVID year, would be about 277 programs for children. A normal E-size library, or another E-size library, would have 265. And so we're excelling for being an E-size. Teens, it's really hard to get teens into the library, so this is another thing to be super proud of. We have an average of 35 programs, whereas E-size libraries have 26, and adult programs about 143, where other E-size libraries have an average of 106. So that's the numbers of programs, and then the big impactful numbers are on the next chart, this is the number of attendees. So this is how many people we're actually serving. Children, 9,831 for our library, and Eastside libraries about just under 7,000. So that's a nice number that shows a lot. Teens, 919 versus other Eastside libraries, 393. So really we're hitting the mark with the youth for sure, and we're doing very well with the adult as well. The numbers there are very good. So you can see that we do have very robust attendance, and we obviously offer a lot of programs. We would be able to offer more programs because right now we just have the one room and you can only do one program at a time. We were talking earlier, and some libraries do have more than one program room, which is really cool because then you can have something for teens and something for adults in the library at the same time. So it works out very nicely. And I'm going to get into our goal areas. We have 5 of those. The first one is to create a thriving, functional, and versatile space for community members to connect and access the library resources. This goal involves the library's more immediate space needs. I've already mentioned several times we are small. As previously mentioned, we are small, and the situation affects how our collection grows. We don't have space to keep every book, and so what we're finding is there's also not enough seating space. Sometimes people they come in, they look around, there's no place to sit, especially now during COVID when we've had to remove some of the furniture for social distancing. It's very frustrating for them. The same goes with meeting rooms. We haven't been able to open our meeting room because of COVID. And even prior to that, we rented out the room quite a bit, and we found that we were in competition with other organizations who wanted to rent the room, and then they would snatch it before we could get it for our own programs. So then we have to reschedule things. So in addition to that, our staff workroom is wide open to the public. When you walk in the library, that's our workroom. There's nothing in the back. So we're doing everything out in the public eye all the time. And it makes it very difficult for staff to collaborate and to complete tasks without interruption and to maintain patron confidentiality, which is really important because I know you don't want anybody to know what it is that you're reading and checking out of the library, and nobody should know that anyway. In addition, the seatings, tables, and displays and the shelving are somewhat dated, and many are not usable because of COVID, as I mentioned, and also because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Things have to be certain spaces, and we're trying to eliminate as many barriers as we can so that the library is useful to everyone who wants to use it. We're hopeful that in the next couple of years, we can have what we call a refresh, and that will improve our accessibility, our storage capacity, our flow of work and foot traffic, and our overall environment and vibe in the library. The timeline for completion of all of our goals has changed somewhat due to the hiring and onboarding of me, as well as the pandemic setting in. And we have looked at that both of those events were seen as opportunities to look at all of our services, collections, and programs, as well as our communication and workflow, to see them with a fresh approach so that we can reprioritize as needed to meet the community's needs. So to help meet this particular goal area, we looked at our furnishings and spaces to see what needs refreshing or changing. We also visited 6 Iowa libraries to see how they serve their communities through their recent remodels and expansions. We also added a needlepoint bipolar ionization system, which helps eliminate pathogens from the library air to create a healthier environment for the staff and patrons, especially since we're all working very close together. We've also reached out to some architects and designers to seek preliminary input on conducting a space study to better utilize the very limited space that we have. Now, the photos that you're seeing are from some of the visits that we made. There's some spacious seating areas from Ankeny and Ames Library, and in the middle is a very roomy children's picture book shelving area that's in Cedar Rapids. And we're just insanely jealous because you see there's all of that empty space and there's room for growth of a collection there. And that's what we would like to be able to have space to grow into. Goal Area 2 builds on Goal Area 1. This is more of a long-term look at what our library could be. This is preparing our future through investigation and innovation, where community members will have a plan for an expanded or new library facility. As I said before, we need to develop a plan for how we're going to get from the current facility and its size to the future size and look. This goal obviously has the greatest financial impact on the city. but also potentially it has the most overall impact on our residents. We have the opportunity to create a library to not only meet the needs of our current citizens, but to plan for future growth and use. The library could become a true destination for the entire metro area. And with support and partnerships, it could be built for future versatility. So what I'm going to do in the next few slides is to share some dreams and visions and what ifs with you, just to get you thinking about the possibilities that we have right here in Norwalk. Pictured here are parts of the Ames Public Library. Imagine having a spacious area where children and families, school children and kiddos attending childcare could visit during the winter to get out of the house or classroom for a break, or to get out of heat during the summertime. A colorful place like this, filled with educational toys and imaginative learning spaces. I mentioned versatility before, and the big pink door that you see on the right slides open into a very large room for story time and other activities. It's a blast. And here's some more ideas to pique your imagination. The gentleman seated on the left is earning flight training hours in a flight simulator. This is not in Iowa, this is at the Tulsa, Oklahoma Public Library. Their community saw a need and the library helped to fill it by providing the space for this equipment. As previously mentioned, libraries are about more than books and movies. They provide new opportunities to learn and practice new things, especially technology. That's what the rest of this here is. The picture of the 3D printer is in Windsor, Colorado. Patrons actually get to learn how to use the software, and then that hooks up to the actual 3D printer, and they can make chess pieces, bicycle parts, what have you, all kinds of things with the library's 3D printer. The other pictures are from the Ankeny Library, and it has a sewing machine and a serger. And how nice would it be if you needed to fix a seam or maybe learn how to sew, but you wouldn't have to buy your own machine. You could come to the library and have a staff person who could get you started, and then you could do it on your own. And the ladies pictured in the bottom right are transferring their old VHS family videos to DVD at the library. So a lot of times people have to pay for that service, but you can come to the library and have that done by having a staff person get you started. And as I mentioned before, Norwalk does have a shortage of indoor spaces. The library could help fill that need with additional large meeting rooms and smaller spaces such as these study rooms. The ones that you see on the left with all the big glass doors are in Des Moines, and that is just one bank of the study rooms that they have available there. The cubicle on the right-hand side is the North Las Vegas Library's answer to their Workforce Connection program to assist job seekers who needed a space to conduct phone interviews or Zoom interviews, to write a resume, conduct practice interviews, or just have a place where they could figure out where is my career going. So a lot of the things that you'll see in here are talking about different partnerships with the businesses, organizations, and industries within your own community and area. So I don't want you to think that this is not doable, because it really is. Also, being a career children's librarian up until I became a director, the children's areas always excite me a lot. And Norwalk has a very large number of families, especially families with young children. The library should be their #1 resource for entertainment and education. Parents are their children's first teachers, and the library staff and resources are here to support healthy families and early learning. Spaces like these in Phoenix, Arizona Public Library are ideal places for families to get together to socialize, play, learn, and make memories. The top picture is part of the indoor play space, and each of the seating pods features rhymes, songs, letters, colors, and more to help teach children the basics in a fun way. The other picture is of an outdoor space where programs can be held, that they can be used for other activities as well, depending on what the weather is like. And the staff and I and the board are still planning on visiting other libraries to get ideas and to talk to architects and designers. We also need to begin having conversations with the city, area businesses and industry, the Library Foundation directors, and community members about what they would like to see the library of our future look like and how we will achieve that together. Our third goal area is to build digital skills and services where community members will discover a wide variety of resources and programs that meet a variety of interest areas. So this one is a work in progress because everything technological always is, but we feel like we really boosted ourselves because of the pandemic. We've actually completed the entire first goal of this goal area. That goal was to continue to evaluate, design, and provide usable, robust virtual spaces, often known as a virtual library. So it's kind of a big word for what our website is. The pandemic started us on this path right away because as staff, we realized we needed a more responsive digital presence through our website. Our doors were closed for safety and we knew we still needed to provide services to the public. So we ramped up our offerings on Facebook and our YouTube channel and Instagram to try to communicate with the public. We were granted funding by the Library Foundation to have a new website created that allows staff to have quick access to updating the information, as well as a better design to promote the databases, downloadables, and other services we have. So you see our homepage on the right-hand side. And we also wanted to be sure that our web presence was mobile friendly to meet the needs of users with smartphones, tablets, and other devices so that the screen resolution will work for all sizes of materials and however you were positioning it. The second goal of this goal area is to establish training and resources for our growing community to learn about and use the resources, because we can offer them, but if the public doesn't know how to use them, it doesn't matter because then they just sit there because technology can be kind of challenging. So we have been using a company called Niche Academy, and they provide tutorials that we can attach to our webpage. And that's what you see in the green box on the left. This is taken from our webpage, and you note the little tutorials link, but the white and purple icon, when you click on that, it shows you a tutorial on how to use BrainFusion Job Now and Vet Now. And this is a really cool resource that helps people apply for jobs and create their resumes and do all of those things. And then below that in red, that's where you actually dive into the resource itself. So we're pretty pleased with that, and we've gotten positive feedback from the public. Goal area 4 is to improve community value through collaboration and connection, where community members will engage in outreach and programming opportunities. This is the fun stuff that we really, really miss right now because everybody loves book club and story times and craft times and all of those things. So this one was particularly challenging during the pandemic, and it's something that our staff really enjoys doing, and we miss it and can't wait to get back to it. These photos were actually taken in February 2020, just before the pandemic started up, and they are very good examples of what goal area 4 is about. We have staff who are going to a library card sign up at the Early Childhood Resource Fair and also to the Chamber of Commerce for an after hours event to promote the library. So it's just kind of nice if we get to meet people where they're at. I am proud of the staff though, because we modified what we could do during the pandemic. So we used our virtual resources to meet people virtually through Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube channel, all that good stuff. And staff also worked really hard to create the take and make kits that are free from the library. And those have gone over very well. And in addition, we added items to our collection to meet the needs of a variety of learners. The library circulates jigsaw puzzles, board games, launchpad tablets, and a wide variety of kits. The kits allow for a variety of exploration and learning, from building magnetic properties to playing a ukulele to doing a yoga session, all in your own home. And we will be constantly adding to our library of things. And goal area 5, we made it. Deliver exceptional customer service for a growing community where community members will find friendly, welcoming, and knowledgeable individuals. Now, this goal area is one that has tangibles that you don't see, but you feel them. So it's a little different to have in a strategic plan. After working with a library staff member, we want every person who comes in the library to feel like they had a positive and very informed experience at the library. So this lies in staff training and development, as well as creating the culture of our staff. We want everyone to feel safe and welcome at the library and like they've gotten what they needed from the library. The kiddos who are pictured in this slide, they pretty much look like they had a pretty good time breaking out of the library's escape room and making elephant headbands at our Elephant and Piggy program. So we hope that they will remember that they had a really good time at the library and come back to visit. So goal area 5 is largely about creating an onboarding and ongoing training program for staff and improving communication so staff are kept up to date. We're still working on the onboarding, and we have gotten the majority of our in-house procedures written, and they are readily available for all staff to access so that we are getting a consistent message across about how we provide our services. And communication has been challenging during COVID, but we do have our new website, and we've also been using email. We've also been working with a staff blog to try to keep each other informed. And then Zoom has also actually been helpful because it's hard to get together for meetings. So that way we can have a meeting and record it, and then people can get caught up on their information. So to wrap up, before taking any questions or comments, I would just like to note that the library is really proud to be a City of Norwalk department, and that all of the work we do and the services that we offer to the public help fulfill our city's vision right over there to preserve and improve why people want to live and work in Norwalk. So thank you for your continued support of the library.
What questions do you have for Gene?
I guess I had one from the reading that I did, looking at this. Am I correct that, the group is hoping that by 2023 timeframe, that they would have things in place to be able to look at the possibility of a library facility, or what kind of a timeline, I guess?
It gets a little confusing because we're talking about two different parts of the physical piece. The part that I referred to as the refresh would be around the 2023, 2024 timeframe. And that is where we would refresh the interior of the current building.
Okay.
And the longer term, in 10 to 20-ish years, would be figuring out a way to either expand the current building or to build on a new site, or to figure out how to make something that would fit us better into the size library that we need to be in physically. Does that make sense?
Okay. So the program that you have in place now, would it support looking at a different building after 2023, the way it's crafted now?
I think so. I think it kind of depends on the opportunities and the finances that come through,
Sure.
and how fast we can act on things. Because right now I've had very, very, very preliminary discussions with architects and designers and people who do space studies. And so we have some general ideas of what could be in the current building. And obviously we've gotten all kinds of ideas from what we could create in the future. We are limited with the size of the building that we have now, and then the parking, because even if we expanded, we'd have to grow into the parks. And I don't think we want to grow into the parks to make a building, because it is a really nice space that I would feel badly if we expanded into the parks, but the city may feel differently about that. But either way, we would have to make a larger building and expand the parking to go along with it.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Gene?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you
If you
very
think of any
much.
other ones, let me know.
All right, we'll
I
do.
appreciate well thought out presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's good to know what you guys are planning for the future.
We're
It's good to
trying.
know that you're actually planning for the future.
Yes, we are.
All right. All right, item 6 is consent agenda. We have approved the February 18th, 2021 minutes of the regular city council meeting. We have expenditures, tax abatements. We have a renewal of Class C liquor license, Class B native wine permit for Wynn's Pizza and Steakhouse at 1611 Sunset Drive, Suite 600. We have a new Class C liquor license with Sunday sales for Amigo Mexican Restaurant at 2351 Sunset Drive, Suite 106.
Which one is that?
I think that's replacing El Maya.
Thank you.
I had to look that one up too.
We have a resolution approving fire and emergency medical services contract agreement pursuant to Iowa Code Section 28E between Lynn Township and the city of Norwalk, Iowa. We have a resolution accepting the legacy commercial plat 10 water main and releasing the completion bond to Primus Companies Incorporated. We have a resolution setting April 1, 2021 for public hearings regarding amendments to the city of Norwalk zoning ordinance related to temporary sales and solar energy systems. We have an authorization to submit a transportation alternatives program surface transportation block grant set aside or TAP STBG application to the Des Moines Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for partial funding of sidewalk gap improvements around Oviatt Elementary School. We have a resolution authorizing the city of Norwalk and Park and Recreation Department to submit an application to the Walmart Foundation for the large match grant for partial funding of a trail crossing over Highway 28 at Elm Avenue and sidewalk gap improvements on Elm Avenue near Oviatt Elementary School. We have a resolution to approve final pay estimate to concrete professionals for Highway 28 and Colonial Parkway trail improvements and monthly reports. Can I get a motion to approve?
Can I ask one question on K? So this will, Robin and Wayne, I don't know which one of you will be the right ones for this. So, that's for the crossing and all the stuff up at 28 and Colonial. And are we moving the two sensors that are sitting in the middle of the crosswalk out of the crosswalk at some point? Or was that, I'm just wanting to make sure that wasn't supposed to be part of this before we.
That's not part of this contract. Snyder went out and looked at that. I just got the email on it the other day. There's improvements that need to be done there with the detector loops. They're working. If somebody's not pulled up, if they're not on, for some reason, people aren't aligning right with the detector loops now. We could do it now. We have an ICAP grant that we received for next year. So I'm trying to hold off on doing it because anything we do now, we're likely going to redo it next year when we redo that whole corridor.
Nope, I just wanted to make sure that was on. If it wasn't supposed to be done, then it was at least on a radar. So thank you.
Right, okay. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lester, second by Livingston. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
yes,
Cool,
Yeah,
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7, we have old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. Item A is a public hearing to approve the fiscal year 22 budget. We'll open up the public hearing at 6:36 p.m. Jean, would you like to present the budget to the council?
I would.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Good evening. The budget presented before you for next fiscal year, which is July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022, is developed based on priorities and goals of the Norwalk elected officials, city staff, and citizen input. I understand that the elected officials and staff, this information may be familiar to you, and you've probably heard it many times over, but I thought it would be important to include some of these numbers as part of the public hearing. This is a $50.8 million budget, of which $5.1 million are transfers from various areas, mainly TIF and lost, tax increment financing, and local option sales and service tax. TIP, as you know, helps reduce the city's debt service levy, and approximately 1.9 million of TIP will be transferred to debt service for economic development and other city TIF qualified projects. Expenditures include the general fund, which is 8 million. This is all city departments other than our public works departments. Special revenues, which is 5 million. This pays for the city employee health insurance, Social Security, Medicare, workers' compensation, and unemployment insurance benefits. The TIP budget is 5 million. Debt service is 4.4 million. Enterprise funds, which are water, sewer, and stormwater, is 10.3 million of this budget. And finally, capital projects fund is 17.9 million. This is almost triple what we were spending in 2019, which tells you Norwalk is making things happen. The revenues are estimated at $46.5 million. The $4 million difference from expenses to revenues is based on CIP projects that are yet to be complete, but we've already acquired the funds from the 2020A and 2020B bonds. Revenues in this budget include taxes, general fund taxes, trust and agency taxes, and TIP taxes for approximately $12.7 million. Lost and other taxes, $1.1 million. License and permits and interest, $800,000. Intergovernmental, including road use taxes, $2 million. We did add $300,000 to the road use taxes based on the census. We projected the population to be 12,600. So hoping that that is a pretty close to accurate projection. Charges for fees and services, 8.3 million. Debt proceeds, 15.8 million. Special assessments and other categories, 500,000, and transfers of 5.1 million. Norwalk's total assessed value increased to 78 million from 21 to 22. The city's taxable value growth was 5% in the general fund, which is 23 million or 188,000 actual dollars in addition generated from 21 to 22. 10% for debt service, which is about 200,000. The difference is the amount of TIP the city requests for capital projects. So debt service is exempt from TIP. So that's why the amount is 5% general fund, 10% debt service. The city's TIP value that we are requesting is 186 million. This will generate approximately 5 million to be used to reduce debt service and pay for our capital projects. An important item to note is that the TIF value will decrease by $150 million by 2024. This is positive. This will be about $1 million difference to our general fund. And I'm sure the school district will be really happy as well. It'll be quite a boon to them. It'll be about 1.6 million, but the state does offset theirs or reduce TIF by about 40%. So it'll be almost even, about another $1 million. And I told Kate Baldwin this and she was pretty excited about that. So
I bet she was.
this also means that any new TIF economic development projects will need to generate enough TIF, enough increment, I should say, to pay for financing and incentives, or the city will need to determine other sources of funding. I am confident Norwalk will continue to thrive and grow for the next several years and gain new development. The tax levy is decreasing 6 cents from 15.20 to 15.14 per thousand. However, the rollback set by the state legislature is increasing by 1.3%, so from 55.1% to 56.4%. What this means for a homeowner with a $300,000 house, we generally use that number as an average, is they will pay approximately $51 per year or just over $4 per month in additional taxes. Just in case someone was wondering, if the rollback remained the same, the 6 cent decrease would be about a $10 annual savings. So not a huge, pretty small impact. The city budget, taxes and fees for service pays for police, fire, EMS, parks, recreation programs, libraries, streets, sewer mains, water mains, stormwater facilities, building inspections, public programs, snow removal, street lighting and cleaning, community planning and beautification, economic development programs, and administration to organize and maintain these services. In addition to all these services just mentioned, Norwalk has major projects underway and they are a part of this budget. I'll mention a few. Norwalk Central and Sports Complex, approximately 4 million. Street reconstruction, asphalt overlays, and traffic signal projects, 5.5 million. 1.4 million of this is in grants from the Iowa Department of Transportation. Elizabeth Holland Park improvements, the Great Western Bike Path, Parks Maintenance Facility, a park acquisition and equipment, 3.5 million. Public safety equipment, including police vehicles, an ambulance and a fire rescue engine, 1.2 million. Sewer expansion projects to the north, a regional stormwater detention facility, and water main improvements on Wright Road and East 27th for 2.9 million. This budget will require at least 2 bond issues, and we are planning one in 2021 between July and December, and then another one between January and June 30 of 2022. This will allow the city to comply with the $10 million IRS non-taxable debt limit placed on government entities. A lot of work goes into the budget process, and I would like to thank the elected officials and staff for working together as a team to develop and prioritize projects, and for being willing to remove or delay requests when necessary for the greater cause. If you have any questions for me or other members of the staff, we would be happy to answer them.
I just want to say that I'm very impressed by the whole staff, having participated at a different level in the city budgeting process. Okay? So I read through this a bunch of times. I mean, I was already familiar with it because they've done a good job of briefing us on the way in. But I still read through it a bunch of times. And looking at how you folks were able to still accomplish things, right? So I appreciate the fact that you've been able to literally address every one of our priorities and still maintaining the city operation. And, you know, I'm pretty conservative fiscally, right? And I appreciate the fact that we were able to roll our rate of asking back. But it's important that the public understand we can't control the rollback. Right. And in a way, we're kind of victims of however that comes out with the state at their level. So while we're trying our best to be able to hold back on the tax rates, we can't control the whole thing. But I appreciate the fact that the staff has worked cooperatively, right? Because I know there are things we need to do that we're not able to do. You know, there are more itches there that need scratched than we're able to handle, right? But I appreciate the fact that you prioritized it, you've oriented on goals to be accomplished, right? And to me, it made sense, and I was very impressed. So I appreciate the job you've all done.
Thank you.
Lindsay, have we received any written or oral comments on
We
this?
have not.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment on this or any other comment from council? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6:46 PM. Item 7B is a resolution approving the fiscal year 22 budget. So we just had our public hearing on this item. Jean, do you have anything else to add?
I do not. Thank you.
All right. Any discussion or comments, questions from council?
I would like to echo what Ed said. Very good teamwork.
Okay, any public comment? Hearing none. So the resolution for adoption of the fiscal year 22 budget is the first page after the agenda statement in your packet. This is a state of Iowa format. So can I get a motion to approve the Norwalk fiscal year 2022 budget?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Cool, second by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Yes.
Was I muted?
there she is, okay. Cool,
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear her call my name.
Oh, yep.
Livingston,
Yes.
and Lester.
Yes.
You might want to move your microphone around a little bit. Thank you. That would.
That'll help, won't it?
We assumed you said yes, Stephanie. Is that right?
I did, yes.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right, so that motion carries. Item 7C is resolution adopting the City of Norwalk budget transfers for fiscal years 2021 and 2022. Jean, would you take this one?
Sure. The state of Iowa made this a requirement in fiscal year 20, I believe, that along with the budget that we approve the transfers and that you indicate the fund that the money is transferred out of, the fund that will receive the money, and the reason for that. So this is just part of the budget process, and they wanted a separate motion for that.
Okay. Any questions, discussion, council? Any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt the amendment?
Motion.
Okay,
Second.
we'll go with
We had
that.
to get in there.
Motion by Baker, second by Reva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Riva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 7D is public hearing regarding Highway 28 drainage improvements, Hates Drive to Wright Road project. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:48 PM. Wayne, I think I'll turn that over to you.
Sure.
You might want to move the microphone back for Wayne.
This is a project in the west ditch of Highway 28 between Hakes and Wright Road. The ditch has become a maintenance issue. It erodes away quite regularly. The DOT, I think, down to the point where they've directed Norwalk to make some more permanent improvements at that location. The city hired B&K to come up with plans and specs for improvements, and they've done so and put the project out to bid, and that's what's brought forward tonight.
Do we have, Lindsay, have you received any written or oral comments on this?
I have not.
Okay, any other public comment or comment by council? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6:49 PM. So item 7E is a resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for Highway 28 drainage improvements, Hakes Drive to Wright Road projects. We just had a public hearing on this item. And this is the first of 3 resolutions to get the project going. Wayne, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Any discussion or comments from council? Public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the contract documents referred to in the preamble of the resolution hereby finally approved, and the prior action of the city council giving preliminary approval is hereby finally confirmed, and the project as provided for in the contract documents is necessary and desirable?
I'll motion all those. I'll motion all those things, Mayor.
Okay, so that's a motion by Cool, second by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you please call a roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 7F is a resolution awarding contract for Highway 28 drainage improvements, Hakes Drive to Wright Road project. So this is the second resolution needed to begin the project. Wayne, anything else to add for this one?
No, sir.
All right, any questions, discussion from council or public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve all 5 sections of the resolution presented to council in the packet?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Too late, Brian.
Sorry.
Good try, Brian.
Okay, I think I heard motion by Livingston, second by Lester,
Opposite.
or is opposite
Yeah, the other
there?
way, yeah.
Thank you. A little dyslexic sometimes. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7G, resolution approving contract and bond for Highway 28 drainage improvements, Hakes Drive to Wright Road project, subject to engineer's approval. So this is the third resolution needed to begin the project. Wayne, anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Any discussion or comments from council? Or any public comment? Okay, can I get a motion to approve both sections of the resolution presented to council in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cool, second by Reva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Item 7H is public hearing regarding a rezoning request for 2600 50th Avenue to change from AR, or Agricultural Reserve, to R1 60. So we'll open up public hearing at 6:52 PM. Luke Paris, turn it over to you.
Yep, thank you. This is a request from the Ron family to rezone about 38 acres of their property on 50th Avenue from Agriculture Reserve to R160. I think the important thing to note here is that the request isn't related to a impending development like we would normally have with a rezoning. We were approached by Kate Ron with a request to divide out some of the buildings at the front of the property to transact those to other family members in the Ron family. And we can't process that subdivision because of our lot rules of agricultural. So we suggested to her she rezone that 40 acres or 38 acres to R1 residential. That would let her get the lots that they want to transact down to the correct size, and then it would set the remainder of it, which would be less than our 30-acre ag lot, to basically just a large outlot that could be developed at some point in the future. So 2 things to note for that. 1, we won't have any active development come into there. 2, we're setting it to single family, but there's not a developer interested in it right now. So we don't know if somebody pairs up other development in the future, what that might show. So.
Makes me sad.
Lindsay, have we received any written or oral comments on this?
We have
item?
not.
Okay, any public comment or comment from council? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:54 PM. So item 7I is the first reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning 2600 50th Avenue from agricultural reserve to R160 single family residential. So this is the first reading to approve the rezoning that we just discussed. Luke, do you have anything else to add?
No, I do not.
Okay, any discussion, questions, comments from council? Any public comment? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance as detailed on page 3 of the item in the council packet?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Livingston, sorry Stephanie, second by Cool.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 7J is the third reading of an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning certain property at 1008 North Avenue from R2 to infill planned unit development and to adopt the master plan and establish the rules, regulations, and guidelines for the development of the Center North IPUD. So this is the third and final reading to approve a PUD for the area across the street and to the south of the library. Luke, you got anything else to add?
I do not.
All right, any question, discussion from council or any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the third reading, of the ordinance as detailed on page 4 of the item in the council packet?
Motion.
Motion.
I'll take Brian's as a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Sorry, Brian.
Okay, so motion by Cool, second by Baker. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. It just makes you wonder how long the delay is
Yeah.
between,
I'm thinking 6
Perfect
seconds.
Okay, item 7K, accessory dwelling units as an accessory use in the city of Norwalk. So Luke Paris, I believe that you are here to get some feedback from council on defining an accessory dwelling unit as an accessory use. So take it
Correct.
away.
Yep. So the purpose of this discussion, we've got a decent amount of info in that staff report, so I'll try to summarize that as succinctly as possible. But really, the purpose of the discussion is just to get some council direction on if this is something we should spend some staff time working on, or if we just basically keep our ordinance as is. So the situation we had occur was a property owner that owned property in the RE1 district requested the ability to build a second dwelling unit on their property as a space for family to stay in when they come to visit. So they went to our Board of Adjustment. We do allow for what's called an accessory living quarter in the RE1 district and in the AR district as a, or I think it's just in the AR district, sorry. And this person was in the AR district as well. I apologize for that. Earlier in 2019, we had discussions about accessory dwelling units in the RE1 and told that person no. But our most recent discussion on it was someone in the AR district wanting to build an accessory unit. They can technically do that per a special use permit, though our zoning ordinance defines accessory living quarters as a dwelling unit that's for the purpose of someone that's employed on the premises. So if you think like an ag use, somebody that's a farmhand or something living on the property, then you can have that accessory living quarters. So in this instance, our Board of Adjustment denied that special use permit, saying, they didn't feel like they could waiver from that very clear definition of what an accessory living quarter was. They did make some statements of that they felt like what the applicant was requesting wasn't necessarily unreasonable, but they just didn't have the authority to do that. So they suggested that staff go back and talk to you folks in our planning and zoning commission and see if that would be something we would be willing to entertain looking at a different definition of that and just maybe taking a deeper dive on accessory dwelling units. So we did go and talk to our planning commission about that. They kind of had some similar things that, you know, we don't have an ordinance for anyone to consider right now, but in general saying, yeah, we wouldn't be opposed to taking a look at that. Not saying that they would approve anything, but that it would be something to take a look at and maybe study a little bit more and see what an ordinance might look like. So seeing that we have two of our boards saying this is something we might want to look at, we wanted to bring that to you folks saying they're recommending we take a look at it. So the question to you all is then, do you want to do that or do you like the way it's set now and we'll just go about life as we have been?
You know, having sat in on that meeting that he's referring to, and
Ed, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
sorry,
Thank you.
Brian, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, okay. Having sat in on that meeting that he's referring to, I understand the background of it, I think, pretty well. Initially, I was opposed to making any changes in my mind, right? Because I'm thinking, well, what could possibly go wrong here? We could have all kinds of things pop up. But the more I thought about it, you know, we're trying hard to be able to develop some amount of affordable housing in the community, right? The bad side of it would be that I wouldn't want like 10,000 bed and breakfasts out there in a residential area. I mean, our agricultural area, right? But we could probably control uses through zoning and the application of zoning, I would think. So I came away from that meeting thinking about it and not really being opposed to, right? The possibility in an agricultural area to be able to split it and to be able to have a dwelling there for that family's use. As long as we can regulate what goes on in there through zoning, so it's not a commercial type use, you know what I'm saying? And that was where I was at when I was done with it in my own mind. So myself, I'd like to see something like that if those kinds of things could be addressed.
So what would stop somebody from building something like that and then setting it up on Vrbo or Airbnb?
It'd have to be something to do with zoning. We'd have to have some kind of a regulation. Is that possible, legal minds, to be able to address that through a zoning regulation, the use of?
Yes. Short answer, yes. Longer answer. Do you want me to go to longer answer? I don't know.
Not really, but okay.
How about a medium size?
Medium's answer is right now, the way we've interpreted short-term rental is what they would call that, is our code addresses bed and breakfast. And it says a bed and breakfast would be allowed in a residential district. So we have, because we've not really had them be a problem, we have just said if somebody wants to do a VRBO or a Airbnb, that it would be considered a bed and breakfast and allowed in the residential district. So right now, in any of our residential districts, somebody could set up their own home as a VRBO. In the issue of an accessory dwelling unit, I mean, because we say it's just generally allowed, if we didn't make any changes to that, it would be generally allowed for accessory dwelling unit as well. I would, to your point, I would probably say that would be an aspect of the code we would want to revisit more closely because it's just not been an issue. And so we've not really had to do it. The few questions I've had, I felt we've been able to fit it into our current ordinance adequately and we've not had any issues with it. I think we've got 3 questions in the past 5 years, maybe about VRBOs or Airbnb. So
This is Judy McConnell, Planning and Zoning Chair. We did some research on this, and of course, we discussed both sides of the issue, the pros and the cons, the needs and the unintended consequences that could happen. But one of our commissioners, Commissioner Regenator, did some great research on other places in Iowa, and the only other place that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, is Pottawatomie
that's
County.
correct. Yep.
Has a great, I thought it's fairly good. It's 8002.020. And then it goes down, the most relevant part is 8004.095, pages 31 through 33 that are very relevant. And if we could get some of those conditions placed in there, it would lessen, I believe, some of the concerns that I have. I just don't want for myself unintended consequences if we have this this accessory dwelling units, and you all know what those could be and what we've come up against. But I think we could look at possibly something similar to Pottawatomie County. It is of interest to me also is why then, what reasons that only one county permits it. There's probably a lot of good reasons. So both sides of the coin, but I did want to mention Commissioner Regenators find when she did her homework and research of Pottawatomie County.
Thanks, Judy.
I sort of a repeat of what Ed said. When I first read this, I don't have, it makes a lot of sense if somebody's going to like put rooms over a garage or do a small building in the back for some family member to live out there. It also wouldn't be a bad thing if you had a long-term renter out there. I could get comfortable with that. First, I should say, Luke, yes, I would like you to look into changing or making something in the ordinance about this. My concerns would be, and it was addressed in the sample language, I think that was from Pottawatomie County, that there needs to be separate parking for that unit. So I don't want the cars from the unit to always be on the street. And the second thing is, like Ed said, I really don't want to have a lot of Airbnb and VRBO, the short-term rentals. I mean, the long-term rentals are one thing, but the short-term rentals, it's great until it's not great. So I mean, somebody can rent their house now if they want, that's fine. I just don't want to encourage any more of it.
Any other feedback for Luke?
We're talking about new urbanism and mixed use. And we went and saw that development in Iowa City where there's a bunch of houses that have like the separate loft apartment above the garage. I understand the desire to regulate how this actually is put into practice, but we've all expressed an interest in increasing mixed use and housing types, diversifying housing types. And then when we're presented with the option to do that, I would say get afraid and don't want to do it. So I just think that sometime we're going to have to strike a balance and figure out, do we want to do it or not? And if we don't want to do it, we don't get to, if we want to do it, we don't necessarily get to pick and choose where and when. So good luck.
Now that's some input.
We like a good challenge.
I don't, so Jackie, just so you're clear, I'm not against the concept. What I don't want is I don't want the short-term rentals. And I would really like to have some off-street parking if there's a facility building that's rented. I don't have an objection to the general concept of an accessory dwelling unit.
These are just going to be an AR.
I mean, right now,
Well,
that's the only place we allow them.
Yeah.
So
But we're
we'll
looking
bring
at-
you back options and we can talk about that whole thing.
Okay.
The simplest thing would be to just change the definition of it is now and then don't change anything. And in AR, you could have one dwelling unit in addition to your house and probably wouldn't be too much of a concern to anybody, but you get to more interesting discussions, more challenges when we start talking anything other than probably AR.
Okay.
So on my farm, how many little homes can I rent space out to?
Right now, you would only be able to do one because you
Only
have
if he was an employee.
that live there. If
But
we
I want
just
my
changed the
mother-in-law's
definition, it'd still
apartment.
be one.
Yeah, I want my mother-in-law's apartment over here that I can eventually change into a regular rent. And then I want another mini home with, I mean, you can just see where this goes. And after the first one, okay, it's a mother-in-law's apartment, but well, now it's just college kids that need a place to stay.
We would
You know,
definitely,
it's so tough.
we would definitely limit the number of additional units allowed per a lot. I mean, that
I think if we kept it at one, the way
Yeah.
it is now, that's probably a reasonable thing in my mind. And if you want your mother-in-law that close, that's fine with me, Brian.
I think that was an example. Yeah.
But, I think if we kept it limited to one, right? Yeah. And then take a look at maybe migrating on the purpose of it a little bit, right? But not mess with the rest of it. And then let's see how that works. I mean, that's what I think.
Two things. One, the samples, Reginator, she brought up some examples. Have you seen anywhere where it's been more than one unit?
not that I'm aware of. I mean, we've not done a very detailed review of what everybody else is doing yet because we didn't want to deep dive into it if we weren't doing anything with it. So will be something we'll research. But in my just general experience and knowledge of accessory dwelling units and new urbanism and that stuff, you're not doing more than one. You're saying you can do one, and there's usually some kind of cap on the size of it, so it's a smaller unit. You're not just straight up making a duplex out of your house. It's 400, 500, 600 square feet, one unit added to whatever lot in whatever zoning you have. So
The second thing real quick I was going to bring up is we also have a rental code. And so there's components of that could also be another tool just to make sure that you have a handle on what these accessory rental units look like.
Yep. That would be our quality control side of things.
Good.
Okay.
So my last comment would be, I'm not really surprised that there's only one other place in the state, because as much as I love Iowa, it's not a hotbed to come visit. Right? The places that have a lot of Airbnbs are coastal, historic, big city, right? So the fact that there's only one other must mean something. To me, it means or is indicative of, we're wonderful Midwestern, come live here, not a great, exciting place to visit, Iowa.
That's why we're not proud.
Well, maybe not Iowa in general, but Des Moines, I mean, there's been, I just know from being on MAC and being on the MPO that there has been a lot of problems in Des Moines because the Airbnb and VRBO becomes problematic during state fair time, wrestling tournaments. I mean, and if the water trail's open, I mean, that discussion went on, and the skate park opens up, how many people will start coming here, and they just need temporary accommodations. So I think that is, maybe a lot of people don't come to Iowa, but I think that in Des Moines, it's a little bit different from the rest of Iowa.
And I hear your point, but far greater issue in Des Moines for the things that you just recited are, the, 3,000 acres of camping ground that we have for the state fair where people come for an entire month in their camper, and the hotels that are inundated with very little control or supervision for the state tournaments.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, yes, look into it.
We will do that and bring you back some information and continue the discussion.
Sounds good. Anything else from council on this one? Hearing none, we will move on. Item 8, council requires staff updates. Let's go to Jim.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. David?
Wastewater Reclamation Authority refunded all of their, almost all the bonds to the tune of $600,000 worth of savings every year for the next 13 years for the whole thing. So I forgot to ask, did you ever figure out what that equates back to us?
It's about 19,000 a year for us.
So,
Okay, good.
but their tax rate came in at 1.35% on taxable bonds. So
Crazy.
it was crazy, but yeah, so.
Good. That's good. Jack,
Nothing.
David, or Ed, sorry.
Hey, couple things. Today, the wife and I had our second COVID shot.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're 10 feet tall and bulletproof now. See what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of good news around the state of Iowa that nobody seems to want to visit with the COVID, because it's continuing to decline.
Mhm.
And good going. Hopefully, before too long, we'll be able to go back to some normals. The other thing is, you probably noticed that I am wearing my university colors because there's an important game tonight.
On right now.
We will probably be losing it, but it's still important. But the University of Iowa. At any rate, I'll yield the balance of my time.
The most important game's on right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. Go Cyclones.
Unfortunately, Texas Tech is up 47-35. Luke Paris.
I have nothing else to add.
What have you heard, just so that we get it out? What have you heard about the census?
I've not heard much.
I've heard I've heard that it's delayed until the numbers are delayed until September.
Another delay, yes. Date I have not heard, but they have delayed. I think this is the third time they've announced delay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's surprising based on the pandemic hitting in the middle of the census and all of that. So
yeah,
frustrating because it'd be good to know the number.
I know Mayor of Ames was talking about it the other day. Like Ames has different wards that are based on population, of course, and they want to be able to redistrict prior to the election. But that's going to be difficult to do if they don't have the numbers to redistrict, right?
Yep.
I think the same is true with the state. So,
well, that could impact like our reduced tax and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's probably our biggest impact is that number. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, no better news.
Tony, you got anything?
Just with the weather warming up here, expect to see a lot of construction starting on subdivisions. We got a lot of subdivision plans that we've been reviewing in a lot of different places throughout the community. So as with everywhere, as spring comes, we'll start seeing a lot of construction. So that's all I got, man.
Two seasons in Iowa, right? Winter and construction. Wayne.
We're still working on easement and right-of-way acquisitions for North and Sunset. Tired of bringing it up and telling you about this, but I'm just letting you know that we have gotten signatures from Onstad's. Ted Hughes Cars has signed. Casey's has. Jim's helping us with Hughes and Sorensen properties. And Snyder's been doing a lot of work with Come and Go. They're the biggest hurdle right now to overcome. Snyder's been doing a lot of work, probably outside of the original scope. They've agreed to just keep working on it, and we're hoping to save some money somewhere else. There is a chance we come back forward in the future with a request for additional engineering funds. I know there's been frustration in the past about asking for money later on for something that occurred way earlier. So I'm just letting you know, we're hoping we can save some money somewhere else. There's a chance they may ask for additional money. The help we're getting from Snyder has been great. They're creating exhibits. Come and Go's hired an attorney. They've hired a realtor. One's in San Diego, one's in New York. I mean, we're dealing with Come and Go out of West Des Moines. It's turned into a bigger hurdle than we thought it would be. So we're still working. We're making progress yet. So that's it.
Thank you. Saw a message on Facebook today from the snowplow drivers. That was a good message. Yeah. Tell them thanks.
You bet.
Chief Colbert.
Nothing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Chief Staples.
Earlier this winter, late fall anyways, we had a stolen car from the Come and Go right here that was driven north on Highway 28 and crashed at the bypass, and we caught this, well, the suspect got out and ran. That was before we even got there. Anyways, we had a suspect identified. We collected some DNA blood samples out of the inside of the car that came back positive to our suspect yesterday. So we obtained warrants. And I just thought it was really cool that little Norwalk had a CSI investigation, got a DNA hit on a theft one. So
Awesome.
All
I'm
right.
waiting for the good.
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 That's all I got.
All right. Thank you. Gene Kelly.
You know, can I make a comment before we get away from the chief?
Sure.
You know, in our council packet, we had the survey of the public, right? And their comments and, you know, I realize our streets aren't in the best shape. That came through loud and clear. But what did come through loud and clear also is public safety and the satisfaction level that the public has with all of our aspects of public safety. So I wanted to compliment both the police and the fire chief on what they've been doing. Keep up the good work, huh? That's pretty doggone good rating.
Yeah.
95% happy. It's hard to beat that.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to comment on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now Gene.
I was just going to mention the WRA refinancing, and we've covered that, so I'm good. Thank
Good.
you.
All right, Holly.
I just want to ask Luke Nelson if you have had a chance to relay the message to the rest of the council about the press releases and the Norwalk Central buzz.
Yes, in fact, thanks for bringing that up, Holly. Just to let you know, yes, I did send that to them, and we need to make sure we as staff are doing a better job. That really falls on me, making sure that when Holly lets me know about a potential news article, I'm going to try to get that out to the elected officials as soon as possible. So I was a little bit more tentative recently when Holly made me aware of a conversation with a reporter. So yes, Holly, I did take care of that.
Okay, yep. I just wanted everybody to know that it's going to continue probably for a while, because now that it's public, we're getting more and more questions, but we're just trying to stick to the original story, which is, we're just kind of partially into this planning process. It's the beginning stages. And then I don't know if Luke, Paris, or Brian, if maybe you guys wanted to relay back to council what P&Z, their comments on Adam's presentation about the draft plan. He gave them the same presentation that he gave to council just a couple of weeks ago.
Luke, do you want to talk about that?
I need a mic. Hold on.
Got a mic.
Yeah, just we had Adam come and give that same presentation. In general, I thought there was a lot of support for the idea. I think folks were, ready to move forward to the next step and move on and start doing some PUD language and get some actual things put in place that we can start enforcing and start getting stuff hopefully built that way. So,
cool.
Yep.
Nice to have some excitement, isn't it?
Anything to add, Brian?
Well, I was just going to say there was originally some skepticism, like, well, we've kind of seen this before, and naturally, you had to talk them down off the ledge. And it is a step-by-step process. There's a lot to it. The city doesn't develop things, developers develop things. And sometimes you just can't get that all the way through,
right,
in a message. But there was skepticism. Someone brought up, why isn't Hy-Vee here yet? What happened to the legacy area that was supposed to have all this? So we still have an uphill road to climb.
We do. You're right. We'll keep climbing it though.
You bet.
Anything else, Holly?
No, just for Jackie and the others that are involved in the committees for kind of the work group committees for Norwalk Central and the sports campus. We will be sending out some invites here in the next week or two to kind of drill down on some of the things that we've been waiting for before we come back to council with draft development agreement terms. So we're back on the horse. Not that we were ever off it, but we're riding it fast this time because we're ready to make this thing happen.
Okay.
You're turning into the home stretch.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Gene Bosch. Need the mic back.
I'll take the mic. Well, the library was the focus of a little bit of buzz and excitement last evening. You may have heard that we did
Mhm.
have an incident at the library that turned into a fizzle, thankfully. The staff were doing their closing rounds, and there was a foul burning smell in one of the restrooms. So they called the non-emergency dispatch, and instead we got 7 vehicles, which was awesome. And we had calls and people stopping in the library all day to make sure that we were okay. And what could have turned into a mess on Facebook actually turned into a positive thing where people were expressing, thank goodness the library's okay. And man, we couldn't believe the response time that the fire department had. So our thanks to emergency personnel and also to Gary Lamer at Public Works. He figured out the actual source of the problem and he fixed it this morning. So we were very grateful for all of that. So thank
Great. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Robin?
Right. They have started construction on Great Western Trail. Bolton and Mink have sent letters out to homeowners along phase 1. So just to let you guys know that has happened. And then we are in the process of coming up with names for our new 179 acre park down south. So if any of you want to comment, or if you have fun names that you'd like us to consider, please send me an email.
179 acre wood.
All right, we can come up with some good stuff.
Yeah. I do like 100 acre wood. And then our trails, I thought we could do the whole Winnie the Pooh theme.
That would be cool. Okay, thank you. Lindsay?
Nothing, thank you.
All right, Stephanie?
Nothing.
Brian?
No, in the interest of time, no.
Well, it's 8:30 there, so it's probably just about time for bed.
Guys, the game start a little bit. He's got a
Game's on. I'm telling you.
no, the good game.
Luke.
I do have a few items. I'll go through them quickly. First, working on with Westcom, there's a new governance structure being created in an updated 2080. As you know, it used to be under really under the umbrella of West Des Moines. That has now shifted away to just an independent Westcom board. And it looks like the city managers are going to take a more active role, kind of a partnership with the chiefs. I think that's a good setup, and so far things are looking good. Norwalk's name came up a number of times at our meeting today in a positive way, that there's a thought that we are really close to a full member with the amount of investment that we've made. So I've got a special meeting set up with Matt McQuillan. He's the president of that board, and we're going to talk through some of those details. Also been working on the Central Iowa Water Trail 28E. I'll be working with Jim a little bit more on the governance associated with that before that 28E comes back to council for consideration. MetroNet, we've gone over that agreement. This would be the company that would distribute fiber throughout the community. This is an independent private organization, but they're looking at somewhat of a partnership with the city for working in a right-of-way. Our Norwalk New Urbanism Group, we now have a fully assembled committee, which I think we have a great representative group. We are finalizing the goals of what that project is going to look like and working on a draft design guide at the moment, as well as a draft budget. For cybersecurity, our staff, we're going to have a fun week. I think it's next week or the week of spring break, where they start doing interviews, and we're starting to be grilled right now about all the policies that we're finding we don't have. I'm really happy now is the time we're starting to figure out some of our deficiencies, as opposed to during or after being faced with some kind of a cyber attack. So I'm now really seeing more and more benefits of going through this process. TIF legislation, I thought of it as Gene was talking about the fact that we are retiring some TIF. There is some TIF legislation right now, which the real key point of it is requiring some kind of a mandatory sunset on TIF districts. It really doesn't affect Norwalk. Norwalk, I would say, has been very responsible in the fact that we have identified our own sunsets. Some communities have districts that go off into perpetuity. So just to let you know, you may not see me getting too worked up about that because it really doesn't affect us. Not saying that's bad for other neighboring communities, but for us, it's not much of an impact. And the rollback that came up a little bit earlier, Gene and I talked about this a little bit today. Another thing about the residential rollback, we're also a victim of our own success. As the housing market does well, so too does that rollback inch up. So that's one way to help people see the positive side of it. And the last item that I have, wanted to show you a picture. I found out that Ed made a new friend.
Hey.
I can zoom into that.
It was an acquaintance near Area 51. Last.
I'm sure he'd want me to show that picture.
That's all I have.
Can't see it.
There's a story that goes with that, Mayor. I'll have to tell you sometime.
Oh, you gotta present it.
You gotta share.
You
it.
share it
You
on
gotta
screen.
share it.
Yeah.
Now can you see it?
They can't see it.
There you
Oh, there you go.
Oh, hold on, I gotta get me right.
Jackie's got it.
I don't see it.
Oh, well. We're gonna move on.
Okay.
So, I only got a few things. 3/13 or March 13th, community chat in here at 9 o'clock. We will also try to do that virtual as well, so hybrid. Question for you guys, for council. Do you like how we've changed up to read the motion or read the resolution prior to getting a motion? Or do you want me to get rid of that?
It's not necessary.
I'm indifferent.
I don't think it's necessary, but it doesn't matter.
All right.
I
Stephanie's
think
indifferent.
it's good for the public that's watching.
Okay.
Inform the public.
Of what the resolution really
Yes,
is.
sir. Exactly what the heck we're doing. You know, if I was the public, I'd like it.
And I know they have the opportunity to look at it online.
I know. I'm just saying.
There's many of them that don't. They just want to listen in.
Right.
So I get it. But so I think I'll probably keep doing that. And if you can think of anything to make it better, let me know. Send me an email. As far as April meeting goes, I think if the COVID numbers continue on the path that they are, we may go ahead and open it up to the public.
Good.
Council can still choose to be virtual if they want to, but I think we'll open it up to the public if the numbers continue on their current path. I probably will not rescind the disaster declaration yet, but I'm getting close. Okay. All right, that's all I had. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay, I'll take Baker's as a second. So motion by Livingston, second by Baker. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, same. We are adjourned, 7:32 PM. Thank
right.
you.
I'll see you at Draft House.